Sandy, we got Quentin on the line. What do you want to ask him?
What lessons would you share with someone who's just getting started in real estate and with the knowledge that you currently have?
One thing I would say is your why has to be much bigger than the pain that it will take you to achieve that why. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to feel like you're going to have 2 or 3 jobs sometimes, especially when you have like a young kid. You're going to feel like you're burning the candle at 2 ends, 3 ends, even though you only have 2. And it's going to take like months of that in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. The truth is, though, if you can do that for a few years, you can have what most people won't have, is the ability to have the flexibility afterwards.
Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe with Four Oaks Capital. Super excited for today's show. Another one of our Ask the Expert episodes. We have 2 great people on the line with us right now. We got Quentin D'Souza and Sandy Pathak. So first, we're going to hit Quentin up. And Quentin, welcome to the show, first of all. And please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Brian. I've been a full-time real estate investor since 2014, but I've been investing in real estate since 2004. Really started to scale up. From 2004 to 2008, I had like one investment property. So it doesn't really count, but it was really, just kind of figuring out if this is really what I wanted to do. 2008 scaled up, buying 3 or 4 properties a year. I did a whole bunch of different strategies, rent to own, wholesaling, like a whole bunch of different stuff. 2014, I left my job as a teacher. So I was a public school teacher for 20 years, have a master's in education, was going down the road of being a school administrator, did not do that, decided to take a little break and had 2 young kids at the time and, went full time into real estate investing. 2015, I started to purchase apartment buildings after flipping properties for a year. I flipped 12 properties in 12 months with, usually close to 6 figures on each of those. And it was great, but it was a job again. Like I quit a job and then I got a job. And it was, it didn't make a lot of sense. But at the time it was like good money wise. 2015 focused on the apartment building space, continued to do a couple of smaller properties, but really focused on the bigger ones. And I haven't looked back since. So now we're approaching 400 units in Canada. So I'm in Ontario, Canada. Price per door is quite high. Rules are very much like California, even worse for landlord tenant board, but high appreciation. Been doing really well with that. Close to 80 million in assets in Canada. Also involved in the US. I have a few smaller 1 to 4 unit properties in Florida, involved in some LPs in the US, and looking to expand to get involved as a GP in the US as well.
Nice. So a couple of things that I like to focus on is the transitions, so you went from public school teaching and, you had the potential to be an administrator, which usually comes with, bigger salary and less classroom type stuff. But, what was going through your mind? What was your big motivation for going from, that career to real estate full time?
Well, I had done a lot of different things. I was never satisfied with wherever I was at. I always was taking on consulting roles. I worked for a publisher. I did different things and different aspects, online tutoring before there was such before it was popular, right? I did a number of different roles, had small businesses, worked on websites, things like that. And then I guess I found real estate. And when I found real estate, I saw that I didn't have to work as hard and get better results. And I knew the difference between hourly work and using your mind and being able to put together something and be able to get a return. And when I saw the results of that through investing, I knew that I had found, this is the thing that makes the most sense for me. And, transitioning from the 1 to 4 unit property to the 5+ unit property space, going into the commercial, that was another shift.
Yeah.
So, but from working to investing, that was what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good point. I think it's a point that comes up over and over on this show is, you're exchanging time for money. And just a question, are teachers as poorly paid in Canada as they are in the US?
No, I was actually I was on what was called the sunshine list because I also had secondary roles during the summer and did projects. So I was earning six figures as a school
Wow.
teacher. Yeah, but I was also a consultant at the board level. So I would actually teach teachers.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of different things. I had a very full time job,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know a lot. My wife actually teaches at an elementary school right now. And, looking at, what she gets for a salary just kind of makes me scratch my head and wonder why anybody would do it in a way. But so, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that the next transition was from the single family, smaller multifamily to larger stuff.
Mhm.
Walk us through that transition too. What was going through your mind and why did you make that move?
Well, I mean, I was using, you would call it the BRRRR strategy. I was doing it before it had an acronym. I actually wrote a book on it, The Ultimate Wealth Strategy, with a couple of friends of mine. We're buying properties, fixing them, refinancing them, and renting them. And so I had done that back in 2008 before it was cool. And, I had built up enough cash flow that had come from those real estate assets on an ongoing cash flow basis that allowed me to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
So I had created the income from that portfolio. I actually probably could have quit my job a year before I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did this kind of like fake quitting job thing. So I was putting money, my paycheck into a bank account and using my cash flow for a whole year before I quit my job. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a conservative thing for me. I was a little more cautious maybe than I could have been, but it worked for me. And then when I quit, I was like, this is okay. And that's when I started to, okay, let's make some big dollars. And I started to do the flips.
Yeah, I mean, if you're anything like me, I mean, I got addicted to my W-2 in a lot of ways, and I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. I'm on what's called terminal leave right now, so I'm all but retired. But, part of the reason I stayed in when I reflect on things was because of that constant paycheck, the fear of losing that constant paycheck. So I see, the same thing is going through my mind. It's like, can I really live off of my real estate holdings, off of my real estate activities? So yeah, I think that's smart to do the let's live off this cash flow for a little bit, see what it looks like. I mean,
It
no,
worked.
yeah,
It worked for me. And by the way, thank you for your service. That's, it's awesome.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I think that everybody has to kind of take it at their own pace and how they decide to do things.
mm-hmm.
It really is something that, everybody works at a different comfort level. For me, it was lower. Now it's much higher. Like when I'm buying bigger apartment buildings, I have like hard money, like sometimes $500,000 in hard money that's on a deal. Like I would never have even been in the right realm of thought, to be able to do that back in 2014 or 13 even, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. I mean, not I wouldn't have been close to be able to put the money forth either. But I mean, just the idea of putting $500,000 out hard, before you purchase an asset, I think would have shocked me. I mean, our first property, I had, I think, $50,000 on the line, with our earnest money deposit, our first multifamily property. So, and that was scary for me, it was like, wow, what happens if I lose this? But I mean, long story short, I didn't, and the property is doing well. So, I mean, it's definitely something that I think you have to grow in to the scale, so.
Well, one thing that like I think about is when I ask my kids what's a lot of money, and
Mhm.
like my kids are 13 and 17. Okay,
Mhm.
so my when I ask my 13-year-old, he tells me $50 is a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? And then when I ask my 17-year-old, he says like $500 is a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and it's all really up here, right?
Mhm.
Because until you make it or lose it, it's just a number. It's just another zero on the end of like a number in front of it. And
Yeah.
how you think of things and how you're able to scale is getting your mind past that, but also, preparing your business so that you can make those jumps. So have the team around you to help you to do that.
That's a good point. And a couple of months ago, for some reason, I had to get a lot of cash out of the bank. I don't remember why, but I remember what I did. I had a couple of $1,000s. I remember what it was. I was buying. We were buying a car for my daughter, and I had to have like, I think it was a $6,000 purchase, and so went to the bank and I got $6,000 in cash, and I thought this would be a great teaching moment for the kids. And I let each one of them just hold a stack of cash for as long as they wanted, and my idea was I want my kids to not think that $5,000 or $6,000 is an overwhelming amount of money, because in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But I think even now, a couple months later, if you'd ask them, what's a big amount of money, I think, my 6-year-old would probably say $5, and my 10-year-old would say 15, and same as your kids too. But anyway, that's one thing I'm trying to do is help my kids see that 50,000 or 100,000 or $500,000 in your case is not an insurmountable amount of money. It's more mindset than it is actual a lot of money. So that said, one thing I'd like to ask everybody, and you've kind of talked a little bit about this, but what is your big burning why? What's your motivation for this?
I mean, once you've got your financial freedom number, whatever your financial freedom number is, and then you start to build on your net worth, which I find that apartment buildings really help to do. I think then you're really looking at how are you going to impact the world and the people around you as best you can. So, for me, I like to spend my time. I've written 4 books. I'm working on a 5th book. Perhaps even a 6th book. I take some time with my kids. Like I really like, we went whitewater rafting. I like we've done winter camping. Like we just do lots of kind of neat and different things that are more experiences that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, rather than, like we do, like I go to ball games, like my kids' ball games and stuff like that. But I'm working on having those really nice experiences with them and other family members. Also, like helping the people around you, like helping people to bring themselves up, especially those people who want it. I really love seeing that. Like I love seeing people who are determined to do it. And they like me, like when we came to Canada, like we came as new immigrants, and we had nothing. Like we lived in the basement of somebody's house for like I don't know how many months before we found a not a really great apartment. Right. But we worked and worked, and the great thing about like our countries is that we have so much opportunity, and we have to remember that's there, and we can take advantage of that. And I love seeing people who are trying to take advantage of that and change where they came from to where they want to be. And so that's like the people that I like to work with and help, and put out different resources and that sort of thing, and hop on a podcast with great people like you so that can share that message.
Yeah, I love it. And I think a lot of people try to do the same thing as, okay, now that I've hit my number, how can I give back? How can I help others? And I think that's one of the purposes of money is to be able to help. I mean, to be able to do things. And I really like what you said about the experience with your kids. But and incidentally, where are you from originally?
I was born in the Fiji Islands, right?
Okay.
But my family came from Goa, which is southern India first. I was born in Fiji, then we came to Canada.
Okay.
So it's been quite a immigrant's journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sandy, just curious, you're also from India?
Yes, I am originally from India. I came about 15 years ago.
Okay. All right. Didn't know that when we scheduled this. Yeah. I mean, Quentin, your name does not sound Indian. I would have guessed, D'Souza sounds more Italian, is what I'm guessing.
My mom was an English teacher, so she really liked the Harlequin romance novels at the time, and apparently Quentin was a star in one of those novels.
Right.
So there
Yeah.
you go. Some
Yeah.
some tidbits you didn't want to know.
No, no. I mean, it happens. We named our oldest daughter after a character in a movie, so it happens. But yeah. So Quentin, what's next for you coming up?
Well, I'm going to continue to grow the portfolio.
Mhm.
Like my target over the next 2 years is to add another 100 million in assets under management as a
Mhm.
general partner. I'd love to kind of see that happen in the US as well because it's such a larger market versus Canada. But
Yep.
I am, looking to grow that. Continue to publish books. I published the Action Taker Real Estate Investing Planner, this year, and that's available on Amazon as is my other books. And
Mhm.
working on I've got my first kind of quasi podcast. It's on getrealwealthy.com, and
Mhm.
trying to get some information out on that. And I just want to continue to make an impact on the people around me, and my family, as well as continue to learn and grow. I always feel like I'm learning, which always pushes me. So and for me, like starting to do stuff in the US is kind of like starting all over again. I don't know
Yeah.
how to describe it because I have to learn new things. I have to figure out financing, and I understand the differences and the similarities, and there are a lot of differences that I'm getting used to, and I have to develop a reputation. Like people, like if you asked me in my area, if you were in Ontario and
Mhm.
you looked around a little bit, you'd probably run into me or my name, but nobody in the US knows me at all. So
Yeah.
it's going to take some time to develop a good reputation, but I'll do it. I have
Mhm.
I have determination, and I want to create an impact, and I'm going to see you at an event next month too. So
Yeah.
this is how you do it, right?
It
Like,
is absolutely, yeah. Getting to
Yeah.
know other people and establishing a reputation, and that's what really works. Start building your U.S. portfolio. Slowly and surely. I mean, you'll definitely get there, and I think your background from what you've done in Canada already is gonna put you light years ahead of anyone else who's trying to build their own reputation here. So,
yeah.
um, that said, we're gonna shift gears a little bit and bring Sandy on the line. So, Sandy, welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me on your podcast. So my name is Sandy Pathak. I am an IT manager with about 15 years in IT. I
Mhm.
work for a cloud company, but I came to US about 15 years ago to do my master's, and after completing my master's, I fell
Mhm.
in love with this country and all the opportunities that it can offer, and it has offered a lot, definitely,
Yeah.
for me. Um, I So talking about real estate, I stumbled upon real estate about 3 months ago. I would
Uh-huh.
say, I never thought of it as a investment where you can make money.
Yeah.
I guess my light bulbs went on when I read a couple of books, primarily the Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller,
A
and
good one.
I think, yeah. And then it immediately had a light bulb effect on me. I was like, I'm investing all this money in real estate, paying all these taxes, versus I can invest money in stock market. I can invest this money in real estate, get tax advantage, and then have that passive income. So I started reading books. I started reading podcasts, listening to podcasts, and just going through YouTube to understand all these different kind of investments. I think a lot of people, they start out with single family homes, and
Yeah.
then they think that scale could be a problem, and then they eventually get into multifamily if they want to grow their portfolio.
Mhm.
I want to skip that step and directly get into multifamily. And what I'm primarily doing for that is I'm learning from industry leaders like yourself, like Quentin, and I'm following all these people. At the same time, I'm also attending some of the meetups. I think your meetup is something on my list. I'll probably
Mhm.
attend next. I went to Vice's meetup, a couple of
Yeah.
other meetups have been very helpful and grow my network. So that's what I'm trying to do. What I want to do now is get into a deal and learn every aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And just admin note, your audio, it's breaking up in a couple of spots. If it gets to the point to where we can't understand anything, I'll circle back and ask you to repeat something. But for the
Sure.
most part, how it came through, my editor can splice things together. There were a couple of small gaps,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, it was good enough that we can cut some little gaps out here and there. But
Okay.
all right, so we're gonna kick it back in here. But yeah, so I like what you said about skipping the single family route. I think a lot of people go the single family route because they don't know better, or they eventually want to get to real estate, to multifamily. And I've talked to a lot of people whose plan to get to multifamily starts with single family. It's like, well, I want to eventually own an apartment complex, so I'm going to start with a house.
Yeah.
And I think you're on the right track. You realize that you don't have to start buying single family. You don't have to start, fix and flipping like a lot of people do,
Yep.
before that light bulb moment. So I think you had the light bulb moment that, both Quentin and I had at one point, before, without going through, the other steps. So good on you for that one.
Thank you.
So question I'd like to ask everybody, what's your big burning why?
So my biggest reason is I have a 2-year-old son, and working in IT, I spend a lot of time. It's not really a 9 to 5 job. It's more like 8 to 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to spend more time with him. I want to be able to enjoy, my time and travel with him and do activities with him. And I can do that by having a passive income through real estate. And what I eventually want to do is completely rely on that passive income and someday, not have a W-2 job. And I think as you mentioned before, W-2 can be very addictive, and
Mm-hmm.
it has been very addictive. Losing a job is something that is always on my mind. It's very competitive in IT. You always have to upskill. So I think, taking some of the money that I earned from my W-2 job and then investing in real estate and eventually growing that to a point where I can, not have to work. That's my biggest burning desire. And, spending time with my family, traveling. And what I want to do is eventually help other people,
Mm-hmm.
because the biggest and best thing that I get out of it is when I help others. I have been helping other people in my capacity that I can, right? Either financially or through other means, in whatever way I can. But I want to have a much bigger impact than I currently have. So
Absolutely.
I can only do that if I am able to,
Yeah. I mean, very, very noble goals there. I mean, I think, I've asked that same question, over 100 times, and family and giving back are probably the two most repeated things, but very well. So Sandy, we got Quentin on the line. What do you want to ask him?
Hey, Quentin. All right. I have a lot of questions. Okay. So the first one I want to start with is, what lessons would you share with someone who's just getting started in real estate and with the knowledge that you currently have?
Gotcha. So one thing I would say is your why has to be much bigger than the pain that it will take you to achieve that why. So if your why is that 2-year-old, make sure you have pictures everywhere and that you drive yourself to do that, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to feel like you're going to have 2 or 3 jobs sometimes, especially when you have like a young kid. You're going to feel like you're burning the candle at 2 ends, 3 ends, even though you only have 2. And it's going to take like months of that in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. The truth is, though, if you can do that for a few years, you can have what most people won't have, is the ability to have the flexibility afterwards. So, that why has to drive you. And if it can drive you, then it will help you to get where you want to go. Once you get to that point, it becomes so much easier. And you don't have to be the driver when you're getting into deals. You can jump in as a limited partner on somebody else's deal.
Mhm.
And as long as you have that conversation with them as a general partner, say, hey, listen, I want to understand how this works. This is why I want to be involved as a limited partner. I want to help you. Is there something that I can do to help you? I'm not going to take any of the GP part of it, but I'd love to be able to help you in any way I can. If you can, and also bring a skill. Like you have IT skills, bring a skill. Because
Mhm.
you'll find people that are GPs that are like they have some skills, but they may not have some other skills that they could rely on you for. So bring with you those skills, and you'll be able to take advantage of the learning part of it, even though you're a limited partner on a deal. Just make sure you're clear to the general partner exactly what you want to do. That way, everybody is on the same page going forward, and that way you can take advantage of that type of an opportunity. Um, the other advice I would say is find somebody who's just a couple years ahead of you,
Mhm.
rather than somebody who's 20 years ahead of you. So if you find somebody that's a couple years ahead of you, they're going to be willing to share a lot more than somebody that's 20 years ahead. I can tell you that when people ask me basic questions, I get really annoyed, and I say, go talk to your lender, go talk to your your property manager, because that's not what like I'm going to be able to help you with. But if you find somebody who's been doing it for a year or two and you ask them a question, they're just happy that they got it done and they want to share with you. So if you talk to that person, if you find those type of people in any group, that'll help you more than finding this huge expert in anything, right? So I mean, sometimes I have to check myself because I lose patience when I'm talking to other people, because I just forget, like it's taken a while to get where I am, and it's not that I don't care. It's just that I've probably forgotten more than a lot of people have experienced before,
Mhm.
right? And so if you can just find somebody who's just a little bit ahead of you, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a great advice.
Yeah, I asked the big burning why question because that was the first part of his answer, was make sure your why is bigger than the pain, because it was my big burning why that drove me to work sometimes 2 or 3 full-time jobs, as it seemed. But that's the reason I do the big burning why, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. That's the one thing that's pushed me through.
I would say like from 2008 to 2013, that's how I felt, right? It was 5 years and it was solid. And, but after that, it was totally different.
Yeah.
My life was totally different, and anybody can do it. I really believe that anybody can do it. It's just that you have to have them. I thought what I thought that mindset was like a foo-foo thing. Like, who believes this stuff? Like it's like it doesn't really exist. It exists. And it
Yeah.
is truly something that can help you change who you are and what you do. And some people's mindsets are just amazing. I like to talk to people who are successful because the way that their minds work is just so different, and it inspires me. And but the thing is, it's just somebody's thinking. Anybody can do it. The thing is that most people won't. They'll give up. They'll try to say, "Oh, it's not worth it," or they'll just stop because it was too hard, right? So,
Yeah.
if you can change your mindset, you can make changes to anything, like anything in your life, like your wealth, your health, your relationships, all of that stuff. And it's kind of the power of us being human versus like a dog or a cat or anything. We have the power to do it. It's just that we choose. It's what our choice is. We choose to or not to. And you have to choose to, and you have to make sure that you push yourself to do it. And you can do anything. You could run a marathon. You could run an Ironman. Anybody can do all of this stuff. It's just what we choose, and how we choose to do it.
That's a great point. Thank you very much. And it is that mindset with which I decided I don't want to jump into a single family.
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
directly
That's
jump into
good.
multifamily. And
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you for that. Great. Okay, so my next question is, what is the most difficult part of multifamily syndication, and why?
All of it? I don't know. You know what? I was thinking about, like, I was writing an article on this. Is like, you know, if you ever go on Facebook and you see somebody who's run a marathon, usually you see the picture at the end where they're coming through and they're like, ah, or you see somebody who's bought an apartment complex and you see the picture of the apartment complex and you go, wow. The thing is, that is the tip of the iceberg. That is just the top of what, you know, that's what Facebook flashes of success look like, but that does not show the whole iceberg underneath. So you got to work on finding funding and financing. That's all the big pieces of it. And if you can't do those pieces, you need to find a partner that can. You know, I'm good at funding. I'm good at finding funds. I'm good at funding. I'm good at finding, and I'm good at financing. It doesn't happen all the time, but I also have other people who can do something equivalent to me in those areas in order for us to build something that's bigger than one person could do by themselves. So, you know, if I can't say that it's one thing, but you got to work on broker relationships on the finding stuff. Like, I send out marketing pieces every week. You know, I was just talking to a broker not more than an hour ago, telling them about my 202 unit I closed last July. Why? Because I want him to sell me his next buildings that come up, right? I'm developing these relationships. I'm telling people that I close these buildings. Why? Because it means that they know that I can close, right? I need to develop that relationship on the finding side. On the funding side, I've been working for years, developing relationships with people who know, like, and trust me, right? Platforms like this can help you, you know, getting your name out, running like a meetup, putting out marketing, you know, writing articles, becoming an expert and known as an expert in your circle of friends. All of that helps you to build that. And then on the financing side, like, I have a financing package that I prepare for, and then I have it ready. I have it all electronically, because you can imagine the amount of documents, leases, everything that I have to have together. It is gigantic, right? But I have it ready to go, because if I can't get financing with a bank financer, I'm going to bridge lending. I've got a couple of relationships that I've built over the years, and I'm ready to go, right? All of that stuff you can learn. It's not something, I'm not special. Like, I'm a school teacher. Like, I'm not, like, I can, like, anybody can do this. The thing is, like, remember we talked about the why. Is your why going to drive you hard enough to do it? Are you going to spend the time, instead of watching Netflix or, you know, listening to you know, music or whatever, you're going to get this stuff done, right? So you have to drive yourself to do it. But yes, you can do it, and those are some areas that could help you.
Okay. And I think
I get passionate. I can't help myself.
No, it's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it kind of relates to your point that you said, it's mindset and your biggest why, right? So these two things combined, and then a lot of people, they see the success at the end, but they don't see what goes into it. And multifamily is a team sport, and you know, it's not a single person can execute it unless you are a very large operator. But you need, like, people who have specialized skills like financing, you know, finding deals and whatnot. Okay, so that's great. That leads me to my next question. So how do you build credibility with broker as a new investor? So I'm a new investor and I'm reaching out to these brokers in the markets that I'm targeting. How do I build credibility? I have not done a deal like you did, a deal of.
Right. So a couple of pieces is one, as I was mentioning before, you know, start developing a relationship with a general partner and see if you can go to lunch with the general partner to a broker meeting, so that you're immediately associating yourself with somebody else who is successful that can help you to introduce that relationship. You want to, you know, see if you can. The thing is, like, brokers get 100 calls like in a week. How do you separate yourself from the last 99 people? Well, do something that's different. Send them something. Talk to them differently. You know, put yourself in a different realm for them. Like, what do they like? Learn a little bit about the broker, find out some information about them. Do you play soccer? Does your kids play soccer? Did their kids play soccer? Find something that you can connect with them so that they can understand and know, like, and trust you, so that they believe that you're going to be able to close on a deal. The trouble that without having experience is that nobody believes you until you've done it, right?
Yep.
And as soon as you do it, you got to let people know. That's why I'm like, we closed these 7 buildings, I'm telling people. So until you get to that point, you have to get everything ready so that you can close. So get your funding relationships ready, show that you have funds to be able to close, talk to financing, your like financing, based on this criteria, this is I'm going to be able to close on a building that looks like this. Right. So all of those things you can do to help add credibility to yourself, to a broker, as well as build on the relationship. It's said over and over again, but this is not bricks and mortar business. This is a relationship business. Yeah. All the people that I know, all the successful people are my friends. Right. And you have to build those relationships with the brokers too, because, if you're not going to market directly to building owners, then, and most of the leads that you're going to get are going to come from brokers anyways, especially if you're starting out. So you got to develop those relationships with them, right? Okay. Do whatever you can, buy them dinner, buy them lunch, send them something, send them a really good book that you think will help their business. They'll remember, especially if they can put it on their desk and they see it in front of them, they'll remember you, right?
Yeah, when I was trying to get traction with brokers initially, I would ask them if they wanted to meet me for lunch or coffee. Okay, and the answer was almost always no, and I knew it would be, but I would follow it up with, "Hey, I wish we could have connected for coffee," and I would send them, a $10 or $15 Starbucks gift card. It was, and amazingly, I had 100% response rate for that gift card. When I was, trying to get traction, that was more, I probably had like 25% of brokers call me back if I would leave them a voicemail or send them an email. But the gift card, 100% response rate, got me a phone call with the brokers every single time. And just recently I met a new broker, and when I called him, he was on the golf course and he happened to answer the phone. So I went down, same day, went down to the sporting goods stores. I don't golf. All right. I bought a box of balls that I thought were good quality balls based on the price tag. They're good quality balls. Put them in an envelope and sent it to him. And guess what? That got a callback. So I think, doing what you can to stand out is more than, part of it is, exactly what Quentin said. You have to be a viable buyer. You have to have your ducks in a row. You have to show the brokers that you can close on a property. But the other half is you have to also stand out from the crowd, so it's a little bit of both. Standing out from the crowd, it involves, get creative with that, figure out your way to stand out. Like I said, for me, it was at first Starbucks gift cards, and now I'm trying to do a little more personalized type stuff, like, "Oh, I see you're a golfer. Well, here's a dozen golf balls. Think of me next time you're on the golf course," and he will. He'll open up he'll open that up and he'll think of my name. So that said, we are about out of time. So one last question for each of you. Quentin, you go first. How can listeners learn more about you?
So if you want to get in touch with me, the best way is probably on Twitter or Instagram at QManREI, or you can email me at Quentin, QUENTIN at getrealwealthy.com, or you can take a look at the podcast at getrealwealthy.com.
All right, awesome. And we'll have links to all that in the show notes. Sandy, same question for you. How can listeners learn more about you?
Thank you. So they can get in touch with me through LinkedIn. They can search my name, Sandeep Pathak, or they can find me on Instagram. Also, it's Sandy Pathak _, or they can email me, sandypathak6@gmail.com.
All right, sounds good. And we'll put links to all of that in the show notes as well. So if you're looking to get in touch with either of these two fine gentlemen, grab your phone, tap, swipe, tap, and that magical internet thing will whisk you away. So there we go. So thanks so much to both of you for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time today.